Thank you for coming. Thank you for inviting me. There won't be any big discoveries here in this talk. It will be more like presentation of what is available and from where we can start exploring. So maybe you can give me some advice how to do it. So I'll start about something about linguistic variation and how to handle, how to get hold of the various types of language within one language or across languages. Then I'll talk about the metrics, which will be the tools that we can use to explore this variation. Then the data, so that will be the parallel corpus, InterCorp. How we can use the search interface to see the metrics, to make use of the annotation, syntactic annotation, and how we can use the metrics. Yeah. So what we can do with that? Yeah, there are so much data, and it's really not obvious how to find answers for the questions that we might like to ask, and then something usual at the end. So you can see the presentation if you like in your devices. Okay. So why study variation? Well, languages differ, so this is very trivial, of course, but you have also dialects, you have various historical forms of the language, so it's not obvious whether it's the same language or different languages, but it doesn't really matter for this purpose. Within a language, we have various genres, registers. So I recently heard about Javanese. So it's a language that has such a big difference between different registers. If you talk to your neighbor or if you talk to someone a stranger, so it's really so hard to learn that language, so that people gradually stop using it. Yeah, so that's I was fascinated by it. So you have you probably know all of that. Yeah. So you have chats, you have formal address, spoken, written, first language, second language, original, translated. So various forms of one language, different which differ according to the situation. Also within a single text, if you take a novel such as Stranger by Albert Camus. So you have two parts of the novel, and they are very different in the language. You can really see that the numbers are absolutely the opposite. The variations are at all levels, of course, phonology up to semantics, of course, and all that is useful for teaching, language technology, and all these disciplines, including forensic linguistics and linguistics in general. So, of course, you can explore variation in many different ways, and I'll just have a very narrow focus here. I'll have just two types of measures: linguistic complexity and lexical diversity. And why? Because it's measurable. It's you can calculate it. You can see the numbers and compare them. So what is syntactic complexity? It is related to the number, type, and depth of embedding in a text. So that's one quotation. So it can be determined by the number and variability of clauses or other constituents within a sentence, and their hierarchy. So how deeply they are embedded. But you have to handle it somehow. So you have to simplify complexity. It is, of course, you can see it from multiple angles, not just what I've just said. It is multidimensional. Yeah. So these people have said it before. They are sensitive to genre and language, so that's important for us. Yeah, so we actually use that fact. Yeah? And when we want to use these metrics, so we assume that we have some annotation. So it's syntax and it's morphology, and it should be somehow consistent across languages. So now we have it in our corpus. Yeah, so InterCorp is now annotated by universal dependencies, and well, more or less it's comparable across languages. And we don't actually want to go into the reader's or the hearer's brain, mind, and discover how hard or easy it is for him to understand a sentence. We aim at something absolute, objective, measurable. Yeah, sorry about this. Yeah. So in a wider context, it's not just syntactic complexity, it's also this cognitive complexity, clause complexity, and all these other types of complexity. And we are dealing with this syntactic complexity. So again, why? It's useful for contrastive studies, yes, so it's something maybe typological, even translation studies. It's also interesting for exploring the register variation within one language and for typology. So that these two are related. So this is our primary focus: contrastive and translation. So that was syntactic complexity. Now lexical diversity. I'll have much less to say about lexical diversity. It's an interesting measure that focuses on how many different words a person uses. Of course, there is this traditional measure to type token ratio. So if you count the number of tokens and the number of types of these tokens, lemmas or forms per se. So you might find something, but this measure actually is very sensitive to how the text is large or small. So this must be used for texts that are more or less similar. So we try to go around this, and I'll show how. So now about these metrics, but before I start about metrics, so this is the syntactic structure that we use in our corpus. So here is a Polish sentence, and it is analyzed like this. So note that powinieneś, you have two parts, two syntactic words, and orthographical word is just one, and it's split in this three. And you are probably used to this even in non-UD corpora for Polish, but it's not the case in Czech, where we also have such forms, but traditionally we don't handle it in this way. So the syntactic structure, it's, well, for tree banks, it's usual that we have just single level, although the Prague dependency tree bank has multiple levels. Every sentence is a dependency tree, so it's dependency, not constituency. Every word has its node and dependency relation, so that's these blue labels. So you have a root, you have something called auxiliary, and it's a clitic. Another auxiliary in Polish, and then something called excomp. Yeah, so that's a complement that lacks its subject and has to find its subject somewhere else. So it's infinitive in Polish. And here you have some argument. Here it's oblique. It's they classify it core arguments and oblique arguments, or oblique not arguments. So this is an oblique argument, and oblique because it has a preposition, and preposition is labeled with that dependency relation, or DEPREL, that's the abbreviation. It's called case, yeah, for preposition. It could be postpositions, it could be something else within the word itself. And then you might notice here you have a conjunction, because that's a coordination. And the second conjunct is dependent on the first conjunct. That's how they do it in universal dependencies. And the conjunction is dependent of the second conjunct. Yeah? So if you have multiple conjuncts, so you have all the other conjuncts are dependent on the first conjunct. Function words depend on content nodes, on content words. So it's always like this in universal dependencies. And it's nice because it's consistent, but it's not nice because some people don't like it really. Yeah. There are no empty nodes. So you can't have here for Pomyśleć, you cannot have a subject that is not there. Yeah. So there is another level in universal dependencies. You have to wiki. There are some syntactic functions, so that's these dependency relations. There are parts of speech, and there are morphological categories. And there are some universal categories, and you can add for your specific language some additional categories, but you cannot modify these basic categories. And you also shouldn't invent your category if it's already there in this universal set. We modified the universal dependencies standard for InterCorp, and you can find more about this here. And I'll tell about I'll say about this later. It's actually extension in the annotation of the corpus, so that it could be usable. Now about these metrics. You have, for example, you have this tool. You can upload your text, and you get 130 metrics for your text. Yeah, some are very trivial, like count. It's based on universal dependencies. Some are really just counting the number of different dependency relations. Yeah, these syntactic functions. Some are more elaborate, but there is one maybe a tiny flaw, maybe not so tiny, but depends on what you do. Namely, that coordination is not handled properly according to our view, because if you know that you have, for example, man and dad like coffee, so dad has the dependency relation conjunct, yeah, and not subject. Yeah, so maybe you would like to have dad as the subject as well as mom. Yeah, so that's one thing that they don't handle. But otherwise, it's wonderful, and you have all the languages that you have in annotated by UDPipe, but by this Prague tool to annotate universal dependencies. So what we use in InterCorp from these metrics. So for syntactic complexity, we have 6 measures. There are some are dependent by they are based on syntactic categories, so either clauses or noun phrases, and then by the 3 dimension, vertical or horizontal. Yeah, so vertical is number of embeddings and horizontal is the number of words. Actually, these are 2 kind of orthogonal views of how the metric looks like. And there are 2 measures of lexical diversity. And the lexical diversity, we have such a, well, the measure is always based on a 1,000 tokens long window, and it's moving, and we take an average of the result in the text. If the text is shorter than 1,000 tokens, so it's just not defined. And you have more about these metrics. The metrics, you have to be careful about using the metrics. One of the metrics is sentence length. Yeah, so it's you might say, oh, it's easy, it's very intuitive, and but if you take various languages, so it's obvious that it doesn't really you can't really compare the values. Yeah, so languages which are reflective, yes, so of course they have fewer function words, and analytical languages have more function words, and you can see the difference between, say, Finnish and French. So this is on 6 fiction texts in 12 languages, these texts are similar, all the same, yeah, so they are originals and translations. And so you can really compare the same thing across various languages. Yeah, so you see that you have Czech, Finnish, Croatian, Polish, and Russian more or less having the same levels, unlike Spanish, French, Italian, and surprise, surprise, Japanese. But that's a special example because Japanese is tokenized in a very different way from all the other languages, and actually the universal dependencies bosses couldn't persuade the Japanese linguists to do it in the way that the other languages do. Yeah, well, there might be good reasons for that. You can also see that there is one text in all languages that is somehow that is an outlier, and the thing is that it's all fiction, and of course the style matters a lot. Yeah? So even in translations, the style of the original matters. So you can have texts which are outliers all over the place if you have fiction texts. Yeah? And you can see the same sentence, přišel do domu. Yeah? So we have 3 words in Polish, you have just 2 in Czech, přišel domů, but in French you have 6. Yeah? So that's trivial reason why you have these. So, but for some purposes, you can. It might be still interesting to compare sentence length. Yeah? So what we do with these metrics? So we add them to the corpus as metadata, and the metadata these metadata are added to each sentence and each text, and then you can calculate the measures for even for languages and for text type within the language, which of course makes more sense because as you will see, the text types within one language differ a lot, yeah, even within one language. So this is a simple sentence, sorry, in Czech, but you have the translation here, and so in the corpus itself, in the data, you have this element, it's XML element, you have the attributes, so you have the ID of the sentence, and then you have those measures here, those metrics, yeah? and the values here. For text, we do the average, yeah. So, but it's of course it's average based on sentences. And for some parts like this MDD, mean dependency distance, it's not based on the sentences, but it's based on on words itself, yeah, because it's a measure that measures distance between the head and the daughter, and it makes sense to take all the number of words and these dependencies within the whole text. And these lexical diversity measures, they are only calculated for texts, not for sentences. Because for sentences, we would have to compare it with some paradigm corpus. So we didn't go that far. Yeah, so we only do it for text. And it's based on this structure. So when we talk about sentences, and about noun phrases, so we have the 2 measures, the maximum number of words within an NP in that sentence. So we take the longest noun phrase, and that's the measure for the sentence. And we also have the depth of the noun phrase could be, it's usually the same phrase, yeah. So the depth means how many embeddings within that noun phrase there are. Could be preposition phrases, could be genitive attribute, could be even relative clause, of course, including all more embedded relative clauses within that NP. So we do not really differ we do not make the difference in categories within that NP. But what is a noun phrase? Yes, there are some problems in universal dependencies because copula is also a function word. And if you have a sentence such as to byl šňůrek do šiča spodní. So this is a copula with some predicative nominal, and that predicative nominal has as its dependent also the subject and also something else. It could be also adverbial. So we don't want to count that, of course. Yeah, so we take whatever has the category of noun, pronoun or proper noun or proper nominal, proper noun, and but we have to make sure that we don't count these, yeah, the copula and the subject. So we only count these. For conjuncts, we also don't want to count on the top level some conjuncts. If there would be something dependent on provazek, which would have the function of a conjunct, so of course we don't want that. Yeah, so we take on the top level only the conjuncts themselves, not the whole coordination. We ignore punctuation, conjunction, nominal predicate. Yeah, so that's what I told you. So the two complexity metrics, the maximal NP length, it's easy. Yeah, we just count these four words. Yeah, we don't count the copula. Yeah? So 1, 2, 3, 4. The NP depth. So we start with 0 and level 1, level 2, and we have two possibilities for level 2 anyway. It's 2. So maximum NP depth is 2. Now sentences. Yeah? So we have sentence length, then something called subordination ratio, something called maximum tree depth, similar to NP depth, but for clauses, and mean dependency distance. So I'll show you. So this is easy, yeah, punctuation is ignored. Maximum tree depth, maximum number of clausal embeddings in the sentence, coordination is skipped. So again, conjuncts are taken separately, and subordination ratio. So this is something special, and I'll have to say more about this. So what is a sentence? In universal dependencies, you don't really have a reliable annotation of what is finite and what is non-finite. So these clauses, yeah, would be also something that looks like an infinitive, that is maybe predicative adjective in some cases. Yeah. So whatever is annotated like this, yeah. So that would be infinitive typically, adverbial clause, but that could be also something like this in this comparison, longer than wider. So then wider might be adverbial clause, also attribute clause, depending on the language. If the attributive clause is relative clause, so that's obvious, but it could also be just a form of the verbal adjective. Yeah? So then it would be also counted as a clause. And then you have the concept of T-unit. So that's used in these measures sometimes. And T-unit is the main clause, including all dependent clauses, and what it's used for. So it's used for to split conjuncts at the top level. So if you have multiple clauses coordinated at the top level, so you always measure that metrics only for the single conjunct. Yeah. Here you have an example. Kotka před chvíle patřila, jak pěsek baví se s kopcami berka i rovněž nabrala ochota, že by se pobavit. So you have two main clauses, two conjuncts, and two subordinate clauses. So these are the blue and this color. And so you have, and here you see it, how we count that, so these are the same clauses. So the number of T units is 2, because these two, the kotka się patrzyła, and then nabrala ochotę. That's the second one. And here you see the label conj, for conjunct. And so you have two T units, and then you have two subordinate clauses. And according to the sub-ratio measure, so you add the number of T units and the number of clauses and divide it by the number of T units, and you get 2. So this is what you get here. And now the maximal tree depth, you count only the clauses. You don't count noun phrases, anything else. So here you try to go from 0 to 1, and then because it's this it's complement clause. So clausal complement, C-comp. So it's like an object, but only it's clausal. So and you don't have any clause below that. So you are stuck with 1. And if you go to the other conjunct, so you count it as with noun phrases, you count it separately for different conjuncts at the top level, and you get the same here. So zahrát si, so that's the żeby się pobawić. So you get the same number here. So it's the max tree depth is 1. You have other sentences which don't have the coordination at the top level, so you have only 1 T unit, and here the complexity measure is the result for the complexity measure. The result is different. So instead of 2, you get 4. The sentence is not much longer in terms of words, but because you have so many embeddings, so you have the max tree depth 3, and the subordination ratio is 4. So if you compare it across languages, so it might be interesting, these measures. So you have, I admit this is not a nice sentence, but it's again Albert Camus, and in French you have a lots of non-finite forms which are chained, so they are more and more embedded. So this is the case here. So you have the max tree depth 3 here. Subordination ratio is 2.5. You have just 2 T units. Here in Polish, you have 3 conjuncts, and but the maximal tree depth is just 1, because here you have these 2 clauses, while here the blue are the subordinate clauses, and the green are the conjuncts. But in comparison to Czech, which doesn't like too many embeddings and doesn't also have the converbs in Polish, so that's adverbial participles. So Czech, they are almost dead in Czech. So here you only have coordination. You have no subordinate clause. No blue here. So you have much lower subordination ratio and max tree depth. So we have 0 in Czech because there is no subordinate clause. And you can see it in the graphs. So this is French, very deep. This is Polish in the middle, and this is Czech, very flat. So because you have only coordination. It will be even flatter but due to the way universal dependencies treats coordination, so it's kind of dependent on the first conjunct. So what about the sentence level complexity metrics? Sorry. Yeah, so it was still sentence level. Yeah. Now we are about the mean dependency distance. We call it cognitive load, but it's maybe not so interesting. So it's a measure that it's a metric that measures the distance in words between the dependent and its head. Yeah. So versie pilotażową udało się uruchomić. So versie is the object of uruchomić dopiero w zeszły czwartek. Yeah. So you can see that it's a kind of non-projective structure, yeah, pilotní verzi zprovozně, and you have this set, the reflexive clitic intervene. So how do we do it? Yeah, so these are the numbers of words within the sentence. These are the pointers to the head of the relevant word, and this is the distance between. So if you subtract one and the other, so you get this number, yeah, absolute value. So you add it together and you divide it by the number of dependencies, not words. So this is always -1 because the root has nothing on top of that. And that's actually the result that would give you 12 divided by 7. So you have this added together is 12, 7 dependencies, and you get this number. It's slightly higher due to this non-projectivity. Yeah, so that's one factor that has some influence on this measure. The other factor is, of course, how if you have a language that has determiners, and so you have a determiner, then you may have a number of adjectives, and then you have the head. And the determiner is dependent on the head, and the assumption is that you have to remember the determiner while you read or hear all those adjectives, and then only it matches the noun. Yeah? So of course, it's something different than the non-projective dependency, yeah? But the measure is blind to that. Yeah, so you can see that some languages might have higher mean dependency distance just because they use the determiners. Yeah, so pre-modifying determiners, not post-positional, prepositional determiners. So that was sentence level. So now text level. It's basically these are just averages. Yeah, I told you already. Yeah, so averages based on sentences, and cognitive. This mean dependency distance it's based on words, not sentences. Okay, so now about lexical diversity, it will be much simpler. Only text level. It's a variant of type-token ratio, I told you. And maybe an interesting thing about Czech, comparing Czech and English. So you have these ranges, yeah, so that's for all types of texts. And you see, well, predictably, yeah, you see that the English numbers are lower. Yeah. But they are actually not so low as you might expect. And no, actually, one thing that could be said about this is that in English you have very many functional words, and these functional words actually make this level lower, yeah, because they tend to repeat a lot during. So they are counted as if they were some content words. So maybe a modification of more intelligent modification, smarter modification would be counting just content words, not function words. Yeah, so that's maybe something for the future. So what kind of tests we use? So we have this multilingual parallel corpus. Every text is in Czech, and at least one other language is being available for many years now. The latest version has still the last but one version has still the language-specific linguistic annotation. So, for example, we take the Polish tagger. For that, we don't have syntactic annotation, just morpho-syntactic annotation. But very recently, we released this same version, the same text, with the annotation based on universal dependencies, and that allowed us to use these measures also, in addition to other things. So we have 62 languages now. Well, most of these languages have a very large part based on subtitles, the open subtitles database. So that's the largest part of the corpus. 47 out of these 62 languages are annotated, not all of them, because the UD pipe that we use for that doesn't have models for the rest of these languages. It has altogether, in all languages, it has this number of words. You can use any of these languages as a multilingual corpus separately, including the search interface. For Polish, we have 227 million words, and there is a special part for many languages where we have texts which are somewhat better curated, or there is some during the pre-processing, there is more care devoted to the alignment checking, and so this is mostly fiction, but also some non-fiction text. And so in Polish it is 27 million. You see that the other parts are much larger. So you can use that freely without login, so with some restrictions, or with institutional login, or you can also use just this test login. But you can also ask for your own account. Yeah. So this is how you can do it. Yeah? So you can pick choose your language, the corpus, and some other corpora that you want to add as the second, third, or fourth language that you want to search in. So, for example, if you are already in the search interface, and you can, so there is something like Google search, yeah? So it's a simple query. And if you want to do something more advanced, such as Czech search by lemma, so you can type in lemma equals Czech, and you get this. If you pick the Czech corpus as the aligned corpus, and so you have the keyword in context here, different forms of Czech, and here you have the translation in Czech, or the original in Czech translated in Polish, and now you can even do something that will try to match the equivalent of the keyword. So that's something new, and that's available not only for UD. It's not annotated in the data. There is something clever that runs on the that uses some precompiled pairings of these forms, and it will highlight you the most likely candidates for the equivalent form in the second language. So this is the picture for Czech. So remember that whatever you have in any language, you have in Czech. Yeah, so we are very nationalistic. Really the core part, which is the fiction and something else, yeah, so this is the best that you might have, for some people. So it's about 30%. And then you have some political commentaries, some news, some European law. That's the proceedings of the European Parliament, and then all the green is subtitles, which is almost 60%. So that's altogether almost 400 million words and 61 million sentences. Now for Polish, it's even worse. Yeah. So this is all subtitles, and there are some news. We don't have this part, this syndicate, which is a pity for Polish. These are political commentaries. European Parliament proceedings. The core is about 20%, 12. Sorry, the Bible. I forgot about the Bible. It's about less than 0.5%. Yeah, but it might be interesting for some. And this is the European law. These are all the languages. Even me, I can't read anything here, but you see how unbalanced it is. Yeah. So the brown ones, the brown bars are these are the subtitles. Yeah. The blue parts are the core. Yeah, so to read it better, yeah, so you have the languages here printed out. These well, of course, the red and upright are the preferred languages. So you have more than 15 texts in the core, and they are annotated. If it's italics, so it's not annotated. I mean, linguistically annotated. It doesn't have this UD annotation. If it's red and not bold, so it includes some fiction. And yeah, otherwise, if it's just black and upright, it has annotation. Yeah. So usually the European languages are better off here. So you have all the other links that you might like to try. So that was about the content of InterCorp, and now about the UD annotation as it is in the InterCorp. So first about these fused words or agglutinated forms. Yeah, so about this. Zrozumiałem. Yeah? So we have one form. Przepraszam, jeżeli źle zrozumiałem. Yeah? So in the UD annotation, so that's the output of the UD pack. Yeah? So that, and also that's the standard form how they how the result of the parser looks like in UD. So you have something like two-level tokenization. So first tokenization is orthographic, but you see you have no other annotation here. You have just the form itself. The annotation is on the second level where you have these syntactic words. It makes sense because you want to build trees, and so here you have the annotation. You have the language-specific annotation, and you have the UD annotation here, which is for morphological features. It's always attribute value pair, yeah? And there is a list of them. And you have the pointer to the head, and this is the syntactic function, depper, as they call it. Yeah, so this is the auxiliary in the Polish auxiliary. So in InterCorp, we use a search interface that cannot do such a thing. It cannot handle two-level tokenization. So what we can do? Well, we can preserve this tokenization. Yeah? But because people are usually used already to words being the same as they look like in print, and they are not split. So we opted for the second option. No, it's not uncontroversial, but it's like it's the way we did it. So we keep the token as the orthographic form, and we annotate it by so-called multi-values. Yeah? So the computer, the corpus manager allows to use multi-values. So they are usually treated as disjunctions, yeah, like semantically. But here we abuse it so that it's actually sequential split between zrozumiał and M. Yeah? So here we introduce an attribute called S-word, split word, yeah? And all the other attributes, they have this vertical bar in here. So they split the parts that belong to the first part of the word and the second part. They could be two, yeah, if you have conditional in Polish, for example. And so all the annotation has split, but because here we already have these vertical bars, so we use double vertical bar, and including the head and syntactic function, it also has this vertical bar. So that's how we treat tokenization. It can be worse in other languages than Polish because in Czech, what UDPipe gives you, so if you have forms such as ses, which is the reflexive particle glued together with the auxiliary, but if you cannot use s just as without as non-inclusive, you just cannot use it. So in UD they reconstruct it to the full form. Yeah. So we added another attribute that would use the same form, and if possible, it would make the split within that form, so that people might search just for S, or for, well, it would give the same result. But if you use this attribute, so you could search for this non-reconstructed form. It can be even worse for some languages, such as Portuguese, which has just one word, and it's actually a preposition and determiner. Yeah, and here we don't really know what to put here. Yeah? And of course, French have all, yeah, and it's reconstructed like this. Yeah, in German, it's also like this. So this is the reason why we do something more fancy here. And you can search for the forms like this so this is CQL, the Manatee version, and you can for example, if you want to say that that you only want the Polish type, so you would use, oh, if you don't want the Polish type, if you want, because there's a negation, yeah. So it would only give you the Czech, the French, and the other, and not Polish and not Spanish. So these are the words how to search for them. Okay, now there is more that we did to integrate UDPipe results into InterCorp. If you want to search for syntactic relations, so you usually want to say something also about the head or about the daughter, and it's really hard if you have just the token-based search interface, or corpus corpus manager. So, for example, if you would like to search for a subject that's headed by this infinitive, by this lemma. Yeah. So what you would have to do is to search for two versions, yeah, like preceding or following one or each other. So you would have this disjunction in the search. And also, you would have to make sure that one is the head and one is the daughter. Yeah, so this is what you would have to do if you didn't add anything to the annotation on top of what you already get from UDPipe. So what we did is to introduce some additional attributes that would say for each token what its head is not just the number, but also some of its properties, so such as lemma. So P lemma is the parent's lemma, and we are only talking here in this query about the subject. And the subject itself has the information that the lemma of its parent is miaučať. Yeah? So this is what you can say is like the attributes that we can use to navigate the syntactic structure. Yeah, so for example, this P lemma. So this is what we say about the head, about the parent, and also if you have coordination, so you maybe you would like to say, I'm not really interested in what my first conjunct is. If you have mom and dad went to the cinema, so the parent, the head of dad is mom. Yeah, so maybe you don't like this. Yeah, maybe you want to know that that the head is šli, went. Yeah, so there is this effective notion of effective head, which bypasses the first conjunct for the second other conjuncts, and you can use it in queries and in statistics. So that will give you the more useful information. But you can always use also the fact that it's a second conjunct and its proper head in the annotation is mom. Yeah. We also added something about function words. Yeah, so this was information about the parents, but this is information about the daughters. But it's only about function words, auxiliaries, prepositions, and a few others. Copula. And so this is the information about these auxiliaries, if there are any, that we add to the tokens. And because you have these long attribute value pairs as the value of the attribute feeds, and maybe you would like to use something very often, like number, case, gender, and so on. So some of these are also extracted. They are left there, but they are copied onto the main level of attributes of the search interface, and you can use them as part of speech in the same way as part of speech. So we have some new attributes in addition to those from the UD type result. Now, if you want to search in that corpus, there is something called tag builder here. So if you search for morphological categories, you get this kind of list, and it's based on the real data. So it would also give you the number of possible categories for gender, for example, and then you can click. And if you click properly, so you get this this query that you can use in for searching. For syntactic categories, yeah. So unfortunately, we don't have the tag builder for depros yet. We will have it. Yeah, that's obvious. Yeah, we should have it. So if you want to search, for example, for subjects that are headed by miaučať, so you use this query, yeah, and you get this result. There are only 6 hits. It's for all InterCorp. There is probably not much about meowing in ACI or other text types. So these are different types of meowing. So okay, you have the concordances, but maybe you are interested in an overview. Yeah? So if you want to get what syntactic functions a certain lemma can have, yeah. So you first have to really ask the question. So you have to query the corpus for this lemma. So cot is the lemma, and then in the search interface you go to frequency, and then you pick what kinds of attributes should your concordance, the keyword in your concordance, be listed. Yeah, so it's listed by frequency. You can change it, and you see that mostly the cots are the nominal subjects. Yeah, they can be object, but much less often. And you get this, and you can also get this graph from here. Yeah, so this is how you pick this is you have to say which attribute you want to use in that statistical overview. Yeah, so this is how you just pick this effective depot. So that means you also want to search for the second other conjuncts. So to list typical subjects of a predicate. So that may be more interesting. So for example, who sings? Who? So you are looking for something which has the parent lemma śpiewać, and that something should be nominal subject, and you are probably not interested in pronouns or determiners. Sometimes determiners count as pronouns in universal dependencies annotation. You should be careful about this. Yeah? And then you get this list. Yeah, so the same, you go to frequency, then it's simpler. You just search. You just want to display lemmas, and you can do the same for Czech. And it's interesting that of course the birds sing in both languages, but in Czech suddenly you have something like song that the song can sing. Yeah, you don't have that in Polish. But in Polish, you have some nice words such as dusza or serce, which you don't have in Czech. Yeah? So you only have blood in Czech. Yeah? The blood sings. Yeah? I don't know what that is. To list typical predicates of a subject. So the other way around. Yeah? You always have to go from the daughter upwards, yeah, because you don't have this annotation what all the daughters can be. You only for auxiliaries, functions, but you can do it the other way around. So you can search for example for if you want to search for what the Polish birds do, yeah. So you search for ptak or ptaszek if it's a nominal subject, and you search for the parent lemma of this subject. No, you don't search for it. You want to show the frequency of that attribute. So that's also important that it's included in that token, that annotation, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to do it. Yeah? And you get this. What do the birds do? Well, of course, they sing, they have something, so not so important. They fly and so on. Now it can even be more interesting if you want to ask for these oblique arguments or oblique dependence. So there is, if you want to ask for something like muszę dbać o reputację. So if you want to find all nouns that can be preceded by this preposition o and are in accusative, and so it would give you No, actually, I'm asking about the parent of this. Yeah? So these are the words that can occur in this construction. But I'm always asking about the dependent. Yeah? So the case lemma, the function word function word is all, the preposition is all, and the case is accusative, and then when I find all those words, so I'm asking about the parent's lemma of these, yeah, and I got this chodzić, prosić, poprosić, and so on. So in it's if you have a corpus, so it's not usually annotated by morphological categories which are based on analytical forms. So if you want to search for conditional mood, first person singular, so it wouldn't help if you wouldn't have this annotation to search just for L forms. Yeah, so L forms wouldn't give you much. Yeah, it's of past tense as well. So you have to say that what the features of the auxiliary are. Yeah, and because it's treated as a disjunction, all these attribute value pairs. So and there are more than one auxiliary here. So it doesn't really matter. You can ask for anything that's here. Yeah? So it can be person one. So that's this M part, and aux type is conditional. So that's the second part, and a number singular. So that's also here, and it would give you the result. Yeah, it would show you the verbs that are in the first person singular. So now you would see just the forms. Yeah. There are more than one. There's more than one way how to query the same thing. So this is the language specific tag, which you can still use for Polish or for other languages if there is ex post, or you can use the tag builder, which would give you this. You can also treat the list of feeds as just a list of just a string and use regular expression, but then you have to know the order. Or you can use the attributes which are on the same level as part of speech. So gender and case are what we expect. Well, it might give you something else, because in UD there is a difference between proper noun and noun, but not, at least not in Czech text set and not in the language-specific Polish text set. Yeah. There are some, how to say pułapka in English? Traps, yeah, traps. So the traps, yeah. So if you use something like that, yeah. So lemma is caught and function is nominal subject. Yeah? Then you might be surprised that the predicate could be something like nieufne. Yeah? So koty są nieufne. Są is function word, is dependent. Yeah? So that's the reason. It also won't find something like gad I kot przyglądają się. Kot doesn't have this deprel. Yeah? So the cure here is to use e deprel instead of deprel. Yeah? So it would give you the real syntactic function of kot, not just conch. It also won't find wszystkie koty są powiadomione. And why is that? Because in UD, at least in some languages, you make a difference between the subject of the active verb and the subject of the passive verb, which might be useful for semantics maybe, but not here. You have to use some regular expression addition to that. Yeah, so that would find all dominant subjects, not just those that are of the active subjects. Okay, now about these metrics finally. Now, you might just want to see those metrics for each sentence. Yeah? So what you do, so you find something like that, and then you go again to not to frequency, but to view, click on structures, and then in structures, you have the list of what can you say about the sentence. So besides ID, you have all these measures. So if you click all on these measures, and you have to apply view options, click on that, and so you finally see this. Yeah, so all these measures for the sentence. So it's just for viewing. Yeah? But you can also search for sentences which are short and easy. Yeah, so that's nice if you want to find examples for the textbook or something. So you want to find sentences which have no subordinate clauses and which are up to 10 words long. Yeah? And you see them. Yeah, just like this. And then you want to say, of course, how many words. So you do the same things. So in view corpus-specific sentence references as length. Now you don't pick structures but references, and the difference is that the numbers are shown in a specific column, but you don't know what that is. Just looking at the concordance, you have to remember that you clicked on sentence length. You can also combine that. So you can combine a regular query, such as I'm asking for something which is non-initial conjunct and which has the dependency relation of its head nominal subject. Yeah? But you want to find that in those easy examples. Yeah? So you use that expression within, and you use that expression to pick those easy sentences. If you want to find something about texts, not about sentences, so you just put in this into the query. Yeah? So this is actually the first element in every text. XML element, and this is just to anchor that in the first to the first word in that element, and then you click on that, you see something. Now you want to see not the keywords in context, because that give you also something from the previous text. So you want to see sentences. And then you go to view corpus-specific syntax references, and you click on those measures that you want to see. So you maybe want to see all of them, and then you save it, and you get a spreadsheet where you have all this information. So now I will show you something that actually result of doing this. Yeah. Yeah, so the metrics are good for many things. I told you already. Also applications like readability assessment, text simplification, yeah, and so on. So now, Polish text with the minimal lexical diversity value for lemmas. Yeah? So we have about 3, and that's for only for the code part. And there are about 350 texts there. And you see that it's mostly children's books. So sorry, this should be coded as children's book, but it's not. There is one translation from Czech, and the values for lexical diversity in lemmas, in terms of lemmas, are like this. And this is the rank within those 300 something. The other opposite is Nabokov's Lolita. It has over 1600. So here you see the range, yeah, from 300 something to 600 something. Uh, so another measure, the subordination ratio. Now the maximum. So the maximum for subordination ratio is rather predictably for, if I want to say, from my experience, Yeshin Patriarchy, Gabriel Garcia Marquez. So it has this 7.5. This is average, yeah. So this is average over all sentences, and with that goes also the maximum NP length, so almost 100 words, and also the depth. It's more than 8. And here you have the rank again. So this is the really the top text in the Polish InterCorp in terms of subordination ratio, but also in terms of maximum NP length and in depth. Yeah, they usually go together, these two. Yeah, but then they don't have to necessarily go together with this, and certainly not with lexical diversity. And I'll show you later. Okay, now this is the list of texts which are in a way most extreme. So these are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 texts. I counted the standard deviation in the rank across all those measures. So this is ordered in that way. This is this. Yeah. Ryszard Krynicki, Kamień Szron. So it is very rich in vocabulary. Yeah, it is on top in this lexical diversity measure in terms of forms, and nearly the same in lemmas. But all the other measures are very low. Yeah, so I don't know that text, I admit. Yeah, so but you may. And there is the very opposite. There is these are usually non-fiction texts. So this are non-fiction, which are very low in lexical diversity, but very complex syntactically. So all these measures are very different. On the other hand, you have also Sophocles, Antigona, which is a drama, and it is very rich in vocabulary, but very simple in syntax. And Hannibal is very complex syntactically, but that's because he has very long sentences. Yeah, and maybe if you would split the sentences into smaller pieces, so you would get these high numbers. And also here, yeah. So quite low richness, diversity, and quite high. Yeah. Okay. Do I have like yeah. So if you take all the text types here for Polish and English, so now we are comparing languages. Yeah? You can see that English is, except for these lexical diversity measures, it's always a bit higher. Yeah, it's the type of language, but the differences across the text types are much larger than across the languages, at least in most measures. Yeah? So the blue are the minimums, the red are the maximums. Yeah, so non-fiction texts in Polish have very long sentences. Yeah, almost the same in English, except for Europarl. But Europarl in Polish is also quite long. Yeah? So you can, without applying too much sophisticated statistics, you already can see something in here. Yeah, so the languages, of course, do differ. Yeah, but the text types within those languages, they may differ a lot more. Yeah. So there is a strong correlation between just looking at it, between the Polish and English text types here. So if you do apply some analysis and you are interested in how the measures correlate, so here is Polish, here is French, you don't see anything here, but these here down, it's about noun phrases. Yeah, the same here and in French too, but the order is a bit different. So it's the NP depth, NP length. So here it's sentence length and NDD, and here are the clausal measures. Yeah, so subordination ratio and max tree depth. And the length of these vectors, that means how varied they are. Yeah, so the shorter, the less varied, and the direction of those vectors, it's what differences they show. So you see that in French, these NP measures and these sentence length and MDT measures are somewhat closer than in Polish. Yeah? You might speculate what reason does it have? Yeah? So ask some people who do Romance linguistics. Yeah? So this is for Japanese. This is again Polish, and this is Japanese, and you see how MDD is very different from the others, which was not here, and of course because in Japanese you have this. Yeah? You have a different structure. It's a verb final language or head final language, and because you have these postpositions, yeah, so articles or case or some verbal suffixes, they have quite long distances between the content verb and this, between no, that's because of the tokens, yeah. That's because they are separate tokens. But you have a difference. You have a long distance between the, because there are so many tokens. Long distance between the content and or the dependent and the head. Yeah. So that's the main thing. But also if there are some auxiliaries. Yeah. Now this is comparing Polish and Czech. So Polish is here, Czech is here, in terms of subordination ratio. And you might see that the axis is not exactly 45%, 45 degrees. Yeah, so it's always the case that the Polish has somewhat higher values than Czech. Yeah? But we also try to make the distinction between original Polish text, original Czech text. So it's not good colors. Polish is blue and Czech is red. Yeah? But anyway, so it seems like the Czech originals are even more extreme in that case, but I don't know. I haven't didn't measure a statistical significance. So it's just this some impressions. Yeah? But you can do things like that from what you have. Yeah. So explaining the differences. Yeah. So of course there are some stylistic differences. So here you have preposition, but in French you have basically some deverbal adjective. Yeah? So that clearly makes the difference between those measures. Normalization. Yeah? So translators tend to adapt. There are some principles when you translate. So there are some general principles what people do if you are a translator. So one of them is normalization. So they tend to adapt to the target language what seems like not really natural in the target language. So in French, you might say something like this, where you have a sentence split. So depuis le full stop, depuis le full stop. But in Czech and also maybe in Polish, you might conjoin these, and that would of course make a difference. But you have also differences in the annotation, not only in the tokenization, as I told you, but also again French and Czech. So these deferrable adjectives, they would be a clause, a non-finite clause in French, but they would be just attribute in Czech. Yeah. And the same here. But in Polish, you have the same as in French. So here the comparison might be different, and also the comparison between Czech and Polish. So you get some false differences in subordination ratio, but on the other hand, there are not so many clauses here, but it still can make a difference. So now finally you have this fancy graph where you have those 12 languages for the six texts, yeah, and you try to measure all those metrics, and you see that for some languages the MDD is very high. So we already talked about that. That could be due to the word order. And of course, we have to work more on that. We need larger, more varied sample, more representative terms in terms of languages, language families, and text types. And so that's just the first attempt at something like that. Yeah. We also want to implement a web service that would measure the text if you upload it, and you can then compare it with what we have in either in concordances, which you find, or we have a list of all text types for each language and for all those metrics on the wiki page. So if you need help, so you know where to ask. Yeah, the Czech corpus has a support site, and we try to answer if you doubt. I would never be able to do this on my own. There are a number of people. The main person who got the idea and tried to support and supported the design was Olga Harmoníková, or still is, and the rest are people from the Czech National Corpus, and they still did the implementation. And so thank you very much for your kind attention, and I'm ready to answer what you might like to ask.